my name is Chiomah Momah. Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Today, we're going to have another conversation with me, Chioma. And I'm going to be talking to another amazing parent on things we can do to help guard our children's mental health. Hi, Toyin. Her name is Toyin Ogunkanmi.
Hello, Chioma.
Toyin, good to have you here.
Thank you for having me on your channel.
Let me call her full name. Toyin Ogunkanmi. You're welcome. Great to have you here, Toyin.
Thanks so much.
So can you tell us in a nutshell about you? What do you do?
Okay, so my name is Toyin Ogunkanmi. I'm a psychologist. I'm also a family life practitioner.
Awesome.
Married to an awesome man with 3 wonderful children. And things I do, I actually work with parents. I help parents. I provide them with tools. I provide them with resources on how to understand and connect with their children, especially teenagers. And I also work with teenagers in terms of creating awareness and doing therapy sessions for them in terms of mental health issues. We have cases like depression, anger management, also anxiety disorder.
Wow.
So that's what I do. In a nutshell, I work with a family for families to have a thriving life.
Okay, so let's go a bit personal. What's in you've mentioned you have 3 amazing children, what was it? Was it your being a mother that led you into what you do right now? And if it wasn't particularly, how has it impacted you being a family life practitioner and you helping teens and other families and parents in as they build their families together?
That question is one question I get most times when I go to talk. When it comes to parents and parenting, when the initial time of first time of you getting pregnant, most times during our days we were taught how to take care of the child's physical need.
Yes.
We're taught how to take care of the child's physical needs, spiritual needs, and all that. But really, when it came to the emotional need of the child, I don't think we were not taught that. So when I had my first son, nursery was there, the school I was going to go to was already on ground, I had money to pay for, everything was ready. But in terms of raising him deliberately, with the right parenting tools, right parenting techniques, I did not know any of that. So whenever my son was getting angry or getting upset, all I would, after feeding him and the child is still getting upset, the next thing is to shout at the boy. But I realized that wasn't working. So I had my second, I had my third. I realized that they too got into that habit of shouting. They wanted to, if they had issues in the house and they were about to settle conflict, it was by shouting. I was like, no, there is something more to this. So in the process, I went for certification in anger management, emotional intelligence. And while I was in class during our emotional intelligence session, I just got like a light bulb that, these children, they came to the earth empty. But it's what we put in them that they exhibit. So we are like their role model. So it's what they see us doing is what they'll end up doing. I was like, okay. So I now know where the problem is. So it's me. So I had to go for parenting classes. I worked on myself. And in the process, I saw changes in my children. And I was like, okay, if this thing is working for me, there are other parents out there
need this help.
Who need this. And that's how I went into the business of helping parents to become better people.
In fact, I think a lot of us who have anything to do with parenting, I think our stories are similar, because when we are trying to sort our own selves, we're like, okay. And once anything we learn, we're like, okay, now we've learned, let us see how we can also help others, which is really, really what life should be about, helping other people and parenting together, isn't it? Because nobody knows it all. And it's interesting how you mentioned that, the problem was with us. I've spoken to so many people, it's always the same thing. These children come
empty.
They're like slates.
Tabula rasa,
empty slates, clean. And it is nature, it is the environment that puts a lot of things into them. Yes, they have their nature, but the nature is mostly a good and a simple one. It's a simple one, but it's all the hard drive is there, but we're the ones that are putting all sorts of apps and things into them through our parenting and through the environment that they live in. But what if you know, I always get this question, you the father, you the mother, you're learning, you're upskilling, you're learning more things on how to parent better, but your husband is still in his old set ways. He does not believe in something you're saying is grammar, family value. This one, I beg. It works for me. Shout. Do all those things that we're saying that are not really effective parenting tools. He's still stuck in that line. How are you able to navigate that?
Okay, so it's like I said, it starts with you. You know, the thing about life is when you change, people around you will notice the change.
Very true.
And they want to know the secret to the change.
What's the difference? Yeah.
So if you are preaching to your husband, parenting, and there is no change in you, of course, to him, you're like, oh, what you're saying does not make sense. So the change has to be in you first. So once your husband can see the change, that
this is a better way.
This is a better parent, she's a better person. Even the way she's loving me better. Of course, he would want to change.
He will gradually come along.
Initially, it might be difficult, but once he can see the change in you and can see the effect of that change, that, oh, this thing is really working, he will gradually it becomes easier to help him. Very true.
And I like that. So it's really more about actions. Actions speak like that. It was not about you saying, would you change, but about you showing
it. It has to be seen in you first.
It has to be seen.
If it's seen in you, then it's easier.
So let's get down to this whole mental health issue. As we're raising our children, we're seeing so many things going on. Now, I'm sure you have a lot of, now more than ever, you're seeing a lot of young people dealing with depression and all sorts of things. These things have always been there. But I think we're understanding them a bit better and we're seeing them a bit more. And how can we as parents, what are the things we should look out for as our children are growing so we're able to help them? We don't want our children to, be overly, with teenagers, we say it's part of it, with all the hormones and everything, mood swings do come on. But how do we know when it's actually a problem? Sometimes we should actually take a closer look at, if possible, get a therapist involved, depending on how extreme it is. What are the things that we need to look out for?
Okay, so before I go into what we need to look at, what really is mental health? We tend to throw it around, mental health, we tend to throw depression around, I have depression, I have anxiety, but what is it? Is mental health. So when we talk about mental health, it's a state of wellness where an individual is aware of himself. You are aware of yourself, you're aware of your emotion, you're aware of your strength. That individual also has the ability to cope with daily living, the stress of daily living. There are some people, they cannot cope with the stress of daily living. And our country, for example, is a stressful, in quotes, society. So your ability to cope with daily living, your ability to work and to function productively in your society, that means you have good mental health. But when there's a mental illness or when there's a mental disorder, that's a state where there's changes in your thought process, in your behavior and in your feelings. You're not able to cope with daily living. That's when you say, okay, this person has a mental illness or a mental disorder. So that's what mental health is really all about. Your ability to cope, your ability to be aware of your state. It's a state where you are aware of yourself. It's a state where you are able to cope with the stress of daily living, and you're also able to function productively in the society. Then you can say that you have a clean mental health. And one thing I tell people is that, your mental health is as important as your physical health. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to ensure that at every point in time, we're in sync. You're in tune with what you're feeling. You're in tune with your emotions and your thoughts. You have to be sure that, okay, you are in that state where you are aware of yourself. When you are not in control of your thought and your feeling, then we can say that you're tilting towards having a mental illness and all that. Now, for parents and adolescents, based on what the World Health Organization have said, 1 out of every 7 adolescents
will go through mental health issues.
They are already battling with it. Mental disorder. And for the teenagers, for adolescents, the one that is most common for them is depression and anxiety. And what is depression? A state of sadness that's prolonged over more than 2 weeks. That is when we say the person is depressed. A state of sadness, the person is sad, the person cannot do what he or she used to do, the person is not enjoying things he used to enjoy doing. the person has a low energy level for over a period of minimum 2 weeks, we can say the person is depressed. And that state is affecting the person's ability to work. That's when we say the person is depressed. Then for anxiety, maybe the person is anxious, the person is worrying, the person is fearful over things. And that fear or that worry is affecting the person from working or from functioning properly.
So I guess in the definitions themselves, you can actually, those are actually pointers so that there's something wrong. When you notice that your teen is sad consistently for a period of time. Now, there's something, this child might be depressed.
And the child is no more interested in the things he or she was
normally interested.
The child is, the energy level is low. The child is not, the things the child used to do, the child is no more doing it. The child is indoor, not talking to people. The child is lonely, and you're like, go and visit your friend. This is not you. That's when you need to look at, there's something wrong with the child.
So what if it's already a child who is normally an introvert already, for instance, how is it for you to notice that he's I guess in that case the child might become more introverted than normal, so that might be
even as an introvert. There are certain things the child enjoys doing. There are certain things the child is interested in doing. So if your child is no more interested in those things, even as an introvert, then you know that there's something wrong. The child is no more talking to you. The child is no more interacting with his family members. The child is just locking himself or herself up in the room. Then you know that there's a problem.
That's true. So what are the practical things parents can do? Because I know there'll be different stages of intervention before you now say, okay, I need to go and talk to a therapist. On your own in the house, when you notice some signs, what can you do as a mom or dad?
So for parents, the things you need to do, first thing first, I tell parents that you need to be able to teach your child to be aware of themselves, aware of the emotions, your feelings, your ability. The moment your child is aware of himself or herself, the child will know that, okay, something is up. I'm not feeling my usual self. And the child can talk to you, mommy, I'm not feeling happy. I don't feel too good. And you can talk about it. So the first step is you teaching your child to be aware of himself or herself. Another thing is you teaching your child to examine their thoughts over time. What are you thinking of? What was going through your mind? How are you feeling? So there's something I tell parents, let them have like a journal, emotional journal. Let them just be writing things, let them write their thoughts, It's in the process of writing their thoughts consistently. They were like, oh, I've been sad for like 2-3 days. Why am I sad? What's wrong with me? So journaling is very, very good. Then another thing parents need to do that is very important, that we need to limit the exposure to the internet, the social media, because there are actually a number of hours children are actually meant to spend on their devices. There are actually a number of hours children are meant to spend in front of the TV. So if they spend much more, it actually affects the brain.
Very true.
Because their brain is actually developing. The prefrontal cortex is still developing. It's not fully developed.
Very true.
So if they spend all the time in front of the TV, it will affect them. There are so many
even their eyesight.
There are so many things they see online that could be depressing. There's so many things going online that why did I watch this? So as parents, we need to help them. Let's channel their energy into doing things that are productive. Then another thing we can do is that exercise. Exercise is very important. We need to engage them in physical activities. It's not just them sitting in front of the TV or being on the phone or being by the computer system. Let them have a form of something like they're doing outside. It could be basketball, it could be football, it could be even wetting the plants. Let them do things outside. Let them do other activities apart from them being on the phone, being on the gadget and all that.
Let them find things to engage them.
So you have to find other activities for them. Then another thing parents can do quite a lot, you now have to teach them problem solving skills. There are times, so one of the reasons especially teenagers, one of the reasons they fall into depression or they're anxious about certain things that they don't have the coping mechanism. They don't know how to cope with all these things. So as parents, it's very important that we teach them problem solving skills. We teach them interpersonal skills. They have a problem with someone, you are
They're
able to talk about it.
yes.
Don't internalize it. And one thing for parents is also important that you have an open channel of communication with your children. Let them be able to come and talk to you. Let them tell you things. Oh, mom, this is what happened in school today, and I think, every point in time, encourage them to talk. Teach them feeling words. Let them be able to talk about their feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Because most times when a child comes and say, oh, I'm feeling down, hey, God forbid, no, you are well in Jesus' name, and all that. Let your child be able to express themselves. Then the process of them expressing themselves, you can now help them to, okay, what you said, this is the meaning of what you said. Oh, you don't, like, for example, a child coming home to say, oh, I'm depressed. That word depressed, they really don't know the meaning of depressed. They just use it
anyhow, yes.
So if a child comes and says, oh, mommy, I'm depressed, explain yourself. Talk to me about it. What is wrong with you? So when the child is done talking, but I understand, you're feeling very sad, but you're not depressed, and you explain to the child, this is the meaning of depression and all that. You won't
get there. I'm ready to help you. What can we do?
So there's so many things parents can do. Engage your children. Let them connect with other people. Let them have friends they can talk to. We are living in a society now that the children just live in the home. They don't go to next door. They don't go play on the street or in the compound. Everything they do is online. Yeah. Let them have physical friends. I want to encourage, especially for teenagers, let them have friends. Let their friends come home. You too, allow your child to go visit them. But for them to bring friends or for them to go having friends, you already know the type of friends they have. Yeah, you know their family values. You know the child's character and all that. But when you don't allow your child to bring his friends home,
how do you know that?
How would you even guide the child properly?
That's a very good point. You need to even know your children's friends and let them know you. That's that's something I learned a lot from my mom, because she would I remember them growing up, both male and female friends, she must see them in the house. Don't go and stand by the gate. Let them enter the house and she will come and Toyin, how are you? Oh, Shegun, how are you? Whoever, and she gets to know who your friend. She'll tell you, this is your friend. This girl, so she's carrying Louis Vuitton and she's already at this age. How far, And she was able to, advise me that way, on the kind of friends to have and all that, So right from secondary school, she was, even from primary nursery, she was very particular about allowing friends to come, and us too, she would know, and that's something I learned from her. You don't just, you can't send an invite to me without, there's a party. I want to know who is the person, who is their mother. If I drop you, I'll say, okay, hello, I'll say hello to the mom or talk to her or something. That way I'm getting to know your friend and the friend's parent as well. So that's very important. Now, there's something that I've noticed, just looking at statistics, a lot of mental health issues are linked to sexual abuse. Not all, not most, but a number. What can parents do to help safeguard their children?
So now that you've mentioned the sexual assault and all that, one aspect in mental health, there's this phrase, it's called adverse childhood experiences. Children who have gone through certain experiences while growing up, they are prone to mental disorder. And what are those experiences? Maybe the child is living in a home where there's assault, domestic violence, physical abuse on the child, physical abuse on the parents and all that. The child has gone through sexual abuse. The child has gone through emotional abuse. The child has maybe somebody in the family it has mental health disorder. Those people are likely victims of mental health or mental disorder when they grow older. Now, talking about sexual abuse, the thing about sexual abuse is that there's a trauma. The child has experienced a traumatic experience. The child has gone through a traumatic experience. If it's not handled well at that point in time, if the child did not go for therapy, if the child did not go for therapeutic sessions, the child might end up having a mental disorder later in future, because there will be flashbacks. Maybe when the child grows up to like 14, 15, 16, or even 18, or even when the person is about getting married and the person wants to have an intimate relationship with a spouse, there might be flashback of what has happened when he or she was younger, and it will affect that relationship. So what can parents do? First thing first, parents need to talk to their children about sex and sexuality. They need to start the conversation in the home early. Sexuality conversation is not something done by the teacher or if it's from the parents. You need to teach your children about everything that surrounds sex, STDs, puberty, everything, abstinence, prevention, and all that. It's in the process of teaching your child, either your girl or your boy, about this thing. You also talk about what we call predators,
sexual predators.
You know, how they lure children, how they groom children. You teach your children. These are all parts of sexuality education. So sexuality education is not you telling your child, when a man touches you, you can't pray. No, that's that. So sexuality education, it encompasses a lot of things.
It does.
You know, talk to your children about the myths, what things people say that's not true about sex and all that. Let your child be harmed with information. I say a child that is harmed with information will become a child that things like this will not happen to.
I'm telling you, you're absolutely right.
Now, if something has happened to your child, maybe your child has been molested, raped, please allow the child to see a counselor. Don't cover it up. Don't do it hush hush. Please, nobody should know about it. It's our family secret. Please, the family secret will still end up becoming public information later in future if the child has a mental disorder.
Very true.
So it's very important that we help our children. If you have a child that's been molested, if you have a child that has been raped, or molestation is not just rape, it's not just the act of rape, even being touched, even being shown pornography,
yes, having someone reveal himself to her naked and all of that, even that is abuse.
All those are molestation. So the child should see a counselor. It's very important. The child should see a therapist. Very important, because it's in the process of seeing a therapist that the child will be, a lot of sessions will go on and the child will be healed. We have a lot of adults who have gone through childhood trauma, and because they were not able to heal, they are transferring that aggression on the children.
Very true. And they're dealing with a lot of issues. And just digressing a bit about the sex talk. Honestly, when I even hear parents today are still doing, if a boy touches you, I'm like, really?
Really?
Even my mother didn't do that to me, And as early, I think when I was 10 or 11, she started to talk to me. She spoke frankly about sex and all that. And we need to even start the conversation much earlier. I started at 7 or 8 with my children, and I think if you can start at 5, different stages, they need to know, because there's a lot of abuse going on. You can't, and the whole thing of stranger danger, I keep on saying it. You might say, strangers. No, even right in the home, things are happening. Relatives, friends,
abusers are
most
people
known to the children. Yes, those are the statistics. Most
abusers are people known to the family. A stranger cannot walk in and come and abuse someone.
It's not.
The stranger will first of all become friends with the family
before he's able
to do that.
Most abuse is by people who are known to the child. So we need to be careful, mindful of that, and we need to, if your child has gone through any of those kind of situations and they come to you, please handle it. If they need to see a therapist, please go ahead and let them see a therapist, because these are things that can, if going forward, could actually cause mental health issues, along with other adverse childhood trauma and all sorts of things. So please, let us all be guided. And even for us parents, some of us may be going through issues. Maybe we've gone through issues at work or in our own childhood or our life, which may be causing some form of mental health issues. We need to also examine ourselves and see if we need help. Let us talk. That people, thank God for people like Toyin and so many other people who are available now, who can actually counsel us. People who are qualified. Ask God for help. Don't go blindly. And be guided, so you can actually get the help you need. So you can actually help your children as well. A lot of us are dealing with toxic situations in the workplace, in marriages, everywhere, and we should not allow that to continue. Let us get the help we need so we can help our children as well. Now, talking about children's mental health, when they're in the house, it's easy for you to say, okay, I will guide you, I will protect you, I will shield you, or whatever you're doing when they're in the house with you. But at the point in time, either when they start secondary school, some go to boarding, or when they leave the house all entirely and go into university. Even if some people say, I want the university to be at my backyard, eventually they will leave the house. Even if it's in your backyard, they've left home, they're interacting with different people. How can we prepare our children for this next stage of life when they have to leave home? And how can we help them, equip them so that they are able to preserve their mental health even in those situations. Because like I said, in the workplace you will face, or you're dealing with all sorts of human beings, damaged human beings, all sorts of people, and you need to be able to, to be able to navigate, the storms of dealing with different people. How can we prepare our children for that next phase?
Okay, so there was this book I wrote.
Yes.
Preparing Your Adolescent for Independent Living. And one of the things I wrote in the book is that first and first, self-awareness. That was the first thing I spoke about.
Yes.
Your child should know who he is. Your child should know your family values. Your child should know what are his abilities, what are his strengths, what is his threshold, what are the things he cannot do. If I read from morning to night, will I be able to survive? How do I read? Your child should be able to know
understand himself.
That's the first thing. Your child should know his personality. Your child should know his love language. Your child should know his abilities. Very important. Once your child can know all this, that is one stage. The second stage is now you equipping your child with skills. You have to equip your child with skills. Skills from problem solving skills, interpersonal skills, social skills, negotiation, assertive communication, to talk and say this is what I mean and this is what I want to do and this is what I'm going to do in a respectful manner. It's very important. We have to equip our children with skills. Let them know their threshold. Let them know what they can do, what they cannot do. And apart from those skills, also as parents, what are the values you're putting in your children? Because these are the things they're going to go out with. In our home, we don't smoke. In our home, we don't drink. And it's not when you're teaching your children these values, let them understand the reasons
why
behind those values. It's one thing for you to say, in our house, we tell you the truth, so we do the, and your child does not even understand why. The reason behind those values. Behind those family rules. Once your child has bought into the rules, into the values, it will be difficult for someone to
erode them quickly. I love that.
It will be very difficult. When I was doing my internship, most of the cases we had, so out of every 10, at least 5 were adolescents. So when I say adolescent, children between the ages of 10 and 24. And for those that were the older adolescents, that's the young adults, most of the cases we had were drug abusers. Those that were taking
different substances.
And it was from the school. So some parents were like, where did you start this from? How did you? It was fact the child. So even personally, I have had some cases where when I asked the child, so why did you go into it? The child could say, I left home early at the age of 16 and my parents sent me abroad and most of my roommates, that was what they were doing.
So I decided to join in.
Another one could say, because I realized I was a people pleaser and I wanted my friends to like me. So that's why it's important that you let your child know who he is. Know your strengths. Know that, I won't do this, and you are able to say it, to be courageous, to say, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do this. Fine, you can do it if you want to do it, but I won't do it. Because the thing about drug use is that apart from the child abusing drugs, it leads to psychosis. The child starts hallucinating, hearing things that are not real, seeing things that are not real, all because of drug use. And how much are those, especially the ones that they buy down the street? I'm like, oh my goodness. So because of 500 naira, 500 naira stuff, your life is going down the drain like this. So please, it's very important that we teach our children. Let them know themselves. Let them be able to stand. Let them have self-confidence. Because most children that are timid, that are, they have low self-esteem, they are the ones that fall into this.
Things. And to be honest, the other day I was talking to someone, a young man. He said, a lot of it is on the parents building self-confidence. It is the parent that will help that child build that self-confidence. They cannot just do it on their own. So parents, we have our work cut out for us in how we raise these children and help them be self-aware, help them maintain good mental health. And like I said at first, physician, heal yourself. You need to also be whole. You need to be whole to be able to even help your children. Toyin, it's been such a great pleasure speaking to you on how we can help our children, help them maintain their mental health, even as they grow up. Do you have any final words for our busy parents? Because the truth is that is really one of the issues, that a lot of us are so busy. At times we forget, we lose sight of what is the most important thing. It's like Mary and Martha, Jesus said, it's the thing that is the most important. Focus on that one. So, we need help, and we thank God that we are getting that help is available. What other words of advice do you have for working parents? Yeah.
So parents, you're all doing a great job. We will not say you're not trying. You're doing the best you can with the information you have. But there's much more for you to learn out there about raising your children. If you find yourself in any form of maybe challenge, seek for help. There's nothing wrong in seeking for help. See, there's nothing about being a superwoman. There's nothing about being a super dad seek for help if you need help. And finally, please, as a parent, your mental health is as important as your physical health. You need to be able to harmonize your work life and your home.
Yes.
It's very important.
Very key.
When you need to rest, please rest. When you need to work, go and work. But your rest is important. Because if you are not whole, there is no way you'll be able to be there to raise your children into well-balanced individuals. Thank you.
Very well. I love it, Toyin. Thank you so much. And on that note, we will call this whole session 2 and end. Thank you for being with us on this conversation with me, Chioma. Thank you, Toyin, once again for joining us. Parents, like she said, there's so much we can do to help these children. We need to be whole, first of all. And wholeness is not just about the physical aspect, but also the mental aspect. We need to make sure we're looking after ourselves. You're doing all the work you need to. You're going to the office. You have to also rest. You also have to. So there has to be that balance. I'm very, very particular about that whole work-life balance, integration, whatever we call it. It's very, very important. So we don't burn out, because we need to be able to be there to to be able to raise whole children as well, like Toyin has said. So thank you so much for joining us on this particular episode of Conversations with Chioma. I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, and don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Bye.